The assumptions that have underpinned digital technologies since when we first conceived this event in 2013 have changed dramatically.
India after 26th of May 2014 is a different country. Not in the traditional sense, but as far as the work culture is concerned.
Now the new war machines of the future are going to do things that humans can't do based on cognitive abilities, so they're smarter.
The increasing influence of countries like India, Russia, China, Brazil especially in the internet governance debate. Clearly they're beginning to flex their muscles and have a far larger degree of influence over what's going on.
As workplace cultures blur, we have the potential to define a new status quo and a unique chance in time to shift how gender is perceived in economy and society as a whole.
Digitalism is not the end of liberalism. Liberalism, if it dies, will die because it has today turned upon itself.
The efficacy of any set of rules is determined by who is or isn't in the rule-making institution or instrument, who is or isn't following the rules, and what incentives do they have to follow or break those rules.
Good afternoon from New Delhi. I'm delighted to welcome you to ORF's annual conference, CyFy, this time in a digital setting. 2020 will be defined by the pandemic that has changed it forever. It is a watershed moment for societies, as we know them. Not only has the pandemic threatened our lives, our futures, and our livelihoods, it has also changed the way society is organized. Our assumptions of politics, of the economy, and of our engagement with each other has changed forever. A conference like ours has never been more important. This is the time when we need to deconstruct and debate technology like never before. It has been both a bane and a boon, and everything in between. It has dangerous shades of grey that need to be debated. Over the course of this week, CyFy will do exactly this. It will bring in diverse communities to discuss most important questions that require early responses. This is also a very special year for us at ORF and for those who've been associated with this conference. It is the 10th CyFy. We have hosted 2 in Morocco, 7 in Delhi, and this one is going to be in digital land. A decade is a lifetime. This is also the moment when ORF will need to learn from what's happening around it and change. It is time to transit to the younger voices, the younger thinkers, the younger ideas to shape our future. I am delighted that my colleague Trisha Ray is the driving force for this edition of CyFy. As CyFy turns 10, it is now in younger and safer hands. Trisha has put together a very rich program for all of us to benefit from, and we will be hearing from her a little later. But one thing remains unchanged. We will continue to remain the arena of diverse opinions. We will celebrate different thoughts. We will bring together different voices. We will discuss what is difficult to debate, and we will debate what is difficult to respond to. And our most important objective has to be trust, building trust between government, people, and society. Trust in technology has never been most important. Trust in technology has never been this fragile. And together, we will have to find a common basis for our common humanity. I wish you all 5 days of great debates, of learning, of sharing. And with this, let me invite the chairman of the Observer Research Foundation, Mr. Sunjoy Joshi, to deliver the opening remarks.
Dear patrons, partners, stakeholders, and colleagues, a very warm welcome to the 10th edition of CyFy. The 10th edition takes place in the year 2020, a year the world may well wish it could forget. But this is the year in which digital technologies have enthusiastically been laying claim on this disaggregated world which is struggling to piece itself together under the shadow of a pandemic. Digital technologies, in many ways, have been on steroids. They're racing at a breakneck speed to become foundational to everything from commerce to education to health to human interaction and governance in what has become a socially distanced world. But as the pandemic compelled parts of the world to go digital at an unprecedented speed and scale, the very phrase socially distanced, which owes its genesis to the world's attempts to fight the pandemic, has become a metaphor for the state of society and our collective conscience. Digital technologies continue to disrupt, morph, and blur the lines between public and private. Knowledge and ignorance claim to set us free by putting us under surveillance, making every action of ours a data point in a soulless digital world of artificial intelligence. Yet again, the one fundamental question, the question of trust, has come back to haunt and corrode the very unstable triad of technology, security, and society that has constituted the three pillars of sci-fi. Information technology was supposed to be both the most powerful driver as well as the biggest prize at the end of what was to be an unstoppable fairy tale ride toward universal globalization. Yet, in 2020, we find ourselves stranded in a scared, frightened world. A world where every nation views transnational supply chains with deep mistrust and calls for self-reliance are become the bedrock of national security. The nation state has reasserted itself, but the fractures refuse to heal. They become worse. Within nations which are asserting their identity, the COVID-19 pandemic has only underlined the basic lack of trust in the people who rule them. The pandemic scares one and all. Yet, so much of the discussions around contact tracing apps, whether in New York or London or the slums of Ravi, they all make it amply clear that East or West, national governments do not enjoy public trust, more so when it comes to data and technology. On one side, we have been hearing strident calls for regulating technology behemoths, accused of playing indiscriminately to just get that toehold in markets. There's a visible techlash, a mood against frontier technologies, which are seen as violations of the individual's increasingly tenuous physical and biological private space. Digital platforms scream for our attention. They fight with each other to get our attention. Their algorithms nudge our biases, shaping the way we think, the way we vote. Hate speech online does not remain confined to harmless bits and bytes on a screen, but spills over into actual blood and gore on the streets. How do we then proceed in a world where the problems of the digital are no longer about innocence betrayed, but rather become increasingly dystopian in a fractured, divided world? The future will always be uncertain. But over these 5 days, we will try and question present trends, explore them deeply to try and piece together what our common future holds. Because love it or hate it, there is one thing this divided world is still forced to have in common, and that is our future. We are delighted that the Minister of Law and Communications, Sri Ravi Shankar Prasad, will deliver the inaugural ministerial address. He will be joined by cabinet ministers from Asia, Europe, and Africa over the next few days. I am confident that the conversations instigated by this formidable lineup of speakers at CyFy will help us understand the storm we find ourselves in. We may be in different boats, but we are in the same storm, and the ideas that will emerge will navigate us to our common future. Thank you.
Morocco has a special place for us, at ORF and in India. CyFy Morocco has carved a niche for itself. It is the platform that connects the Mediterranean with African aspirations and Asia's emergence. We have been privileged to partner with the government of Morocco and have had the support of our next speaker this afternoon, Mr. Moulay Hafid Elalamy, who is in charge of trade and green and digital economy of the country. Mr. Elalamy, it's my pleasure to welcome you to speak to us.
I wanted to congratulate the organizers of the 10th edition of CyFy. It is a team we know well. We've had the pleasure to organize together an event in Morocco, which was very successful. Well, this edition, the 10th edition, comes at a very particular time as we all are facing the COVID-19 pandemic, each one of us in their own way. Its impact was extremely important on the economy, which was set back significantly. However, digital technologies have stood out as one of the beneficiaries from this pandemic because the pandemic enabled digital technologies to gain in scope and importance. Government services and departments in various countries have called on increasingly on digital technologies to stay closer with their population and also to provide the necessary services to their citizens. I hope we will all capitalize on this very strong advance of digital technologies because they have provided for major benefits. Telework was considerably developed with remarkable results in various industries and trades, and I believe that consumer habits of digital technologies have strongly changed, and this for all of mankind. We have learned to tame digital technologies, to live with video conferences, to communicate using digital platforms with results that are very satisfactory. Now, the future will probably be somewhat different. We have learned that the use of digital technologies in various industries and trades is beneficial as it provides for interesting results, and we will likely adopt it further. Now, the challenge we have to face is most likely the advent of robotization. We talked about it for decades. We dreamt a robotized world. I believe it is now time because in our plants we are using an increasing number of robots that are integrated with digital technology so as to replace in part humans. So what we need to manage for the years to come is to find the role of humans in this very strong evolution of technologies. I believe firmly that all of this will lead to phenomenal opportunities for humanity so as to be able to go further, to not fear robotization and a digitized world, because it does change the terms of reference of many jobs, but at the same time it does pave the way to tremendous opportunities that we have to take advantage of. I bid you full success in your proceedings, and I shall see you in the next edition in Morocco. See you, sir.
The future of digital will have a European imprint. Europe is known for innovation and, of course, its norm-building capabilities. This afternoon, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Timo Harakka, Finland's Minister of Transport and Communications, to speak to us.
Dear participants, organizers, and guests of this prestigious event, I warmly recall my visit to India last year. Meetings, site visits, and discussions in Delhi and Bangalore convinced me about the importance and potential of India as part of the next generation global digital family. Innovation, technology, and most importantly, skilled and enthusiastic people are the key drivers of digitalization. In Finland, we have the desire to consolidate and strengthen the positive development, and the entire society is ready to take the next step towards permanent benefits. Finland has the largest number of digital startups per capita in the world. Slush, one of the world's largest startup events, is an important platform to display our digital innovations and to look for new partnerships. For many, Finland is also known as the leader in mobile game development. We are the global game development hub that has unleashed Angry Birds and Clash of Clans, to mention a few of the legendary titles. Finland wants to keep attracting talent, Over the past spring, digitalization and data have become extremely important in order to keep the cross-border communication flowing. We are living in a world where social and physical distancing is a new norm, and societies are relying on digital capacities. I'm hopeful that, regardless of the current crisis, virtual cooperation between Finland and India keeps flourishing. Finland, like India, is well known for its innovation capabilities, ICT and digital know-how, and advanced technology development. This work is mainly done by companies and academia with strong government support, but otherwise very little political involvement. I would like to point out 3 priorities where multilateral regulatory collaboration and digital trade facilitation should surpass the narrow national views. First, data should be allowed to be stored globally, not to be forced to be stored locally. Second, at the same time, there are no shortcuts for data adequacy. The same standards apply for all. And third, if any restrictions or bans are planned for the use of certain solutions, applications or technologies, they should be based on the facts related to the company and operations in question. During the era of global ownership and value chains, it's not only the list of shareholders that dictates where the companies in question store their data or if they share it with any government organization or not. As a pioneer in mobile networks and technologies, we aim to position Finland as one of the international leaders in testing, developing and introducing 5G networks. In Europe, certain frequency bands have been identified as important for the 5G construction. In Finland, all of these frequency bands have now been granted for the use of wireless broadband, which will further strengthen Finland's position as the leading country in 5G. Since 2019, the 5G network has been made available in more than 30 cities and municipalities in Finland. With 5G, the field of telecommunications networks changes more than ever before. The introduction of this new technology will bring about steps forward for creating new services and opportunities in many different sectors of our societies. 5G technology also brings about challenges by increasing the need for more robust security standards and measures. The 5G network structure requires faster responsiveness to cybersecurity threats and challenges the network operators in a new way. The ability to identify new threats and to warn about them is based on wide-ranging and efficiently working cooperation. Therefore, it's important to continue global discussions about 5G and cybersecurity. Soon everything and everyone will be connected, and how people will adapt to new technologies is highly related to feeling of trust in these new services that have a lot to offer. Trust and transparency provide a favorable environment for new business models and foreign investment. They are also important factors in Finland's success in the current crisis. People rely on the services and information from public sources. Even the COVID-19 tracing app has yielded enormous success, while over 40% of our citizens have downloaded the app to help the health officials in their work. I want to believe that after the current COVID-19 situation, we will be even stronger than before. In the midst of this crisis, it's also our decision makers' mission to provide security and stability and have faith in the future. This is fertile ground for innovations to flourish. Thank you.
From the same continent, but with a different political colour, I'm delighted to welcome the Right Honourable John Whittington, UK's Minister of State for Media and Data, to speak to us today.
I'm delighted to have this opportunity to participate virtually in CyFy 2020. 12 months ago, at last year's CyFy, many of you will have participated in discussions about the ever-accelerating adoption of new digital technologies. Little did any of us imagine then how important digital technologies would become in helping us carry on our daily lives this year, whether that is in our work lives or simply keeping in touch with friends and family. COVID-19 has led to a sudden and unprecedented change in our patterns of life. It has meant that people who did not think of themselves as particularly digital just a few months ago have had to become expert at online working and communicating, at online shopping and entertainment. The pandemic has accelerated the change to digital, which was already underway, and this transformation is a permanent one. In many ways, this realization of how we can get the most out of existing technology and data at a personal level is also being realized at a national and international level. Across the globe, the international community is looking at new ways to use data and technology to tackle coronavirus and to find a vaccine. The partnership between AstraZeneca and India's Serum Institute, for example, shows the important role that the UK and India can play jointly in the global recovery to COVID-19. We are also increasingly focused on how data and technology can help drive our recovery from the pandemic and build a better future for all our citizens. Building back better, as our own Prime Minister has put it. Of course, given the speed at which these changes are occurring, it is clear that the international community, civil society and businesses need to develop ethical frameworks that keep up with this change. The potential to exploit digital tools and space for ill is all too apparent. So what are we doing in the UK to ensure that data and technology can be deployed quickly, efficiently and ethically? Firstly, last month we published a new national data strategy, an ambitious pro-growth declaration of intent for the use of data in the UK over the next few years. One that places the availability of data and confidence in its use at its heart. It aims to make data available across the economy. It calls for a regulatory regime that maintains high standards but doesn't place unnecessary burdens on the average business. It calls for a radical transformation of the way that the government uses and shares its own data to improve a range of public services. And it encourages the international flow of data across borders. As the coronavirus pandemic has demonstrated, sharing health data can aid vital scientific research into viruses while uniting countries in their response to global health emergencies. Our national data strategy is a framework for the action the UK government will take on data and is a central part of our wider ambition for a thriving, fast-growing digital sector in the UK. Secondly, we are continuing work on our approach to tackling online harms. We published our initial proposals earlier this year and intend to publish further details on our plans for a new regulatory framework soon. Alongside this, we will also publish interim voluntary codes of tackling online terrorism and child sexual exploitation and abuse content and activity. Our approach to tackling online harms will enable more people to get online and give them confidence to do so safely. It will support our open societies and people's right to freedom of expression, and it will increase responsible participation while reducing the risk of being bullied or attacked online. Thirdly, the UK government is set to publish a new digital strategy by the end of the year. This will set out our vision to drive growth both in the digital sector and the wider economy and maximise the benefits of a digital-led economic recovery. This strategy will set out a path to harnessing new appetite for digital transformation, accelerating growth and building a more inclusive, competitive and innovative digital economy for the future. These are only three of the exciting and innovative initiatives that the UK is pursuing to ensure that data and technology can be deployed quickly, efficiently and ethically. Of course, regulation and legislation form only part of the response required, and keeping up with the rapid pace of change is a global challenge that needs international action and collaboration. The ambitious UK-India Tech Partnership, established in 2018, is an excellent example of how the UK is seeking to strengthen its digital tech relationship with like-minded partners to our mutual benefit. As part of this tech partnership, we have now established the UK-India Tech Hub, which focuses on forging innovation partnerships between the UK and India, stimulating local digital economies and building high-end digital skills to drive our recovery and growth. We see this tech partnership, along with the UK's data strategy, our work on online harms and our new digital strategy, as the beginning of a global conversation as we enter our G7 presidency next year and India takes the G20 presidency the year after. I look forward to continuing this global conversation and very much hope that you will join us to ensure our collective well-being and prosperity in the years to come.
Now, this is the address we've all been waiting for. This would be the 7th inaugural address delivered by Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad to all those who engage with CyFy. Mr. Prasad has been a great support for both ORF and for our quest to build a global arena in India to discuss issues most crucial to our digital future. Minister Prasad is a man of political versatility. Besides handling some of the most critical portfolios for this government, including law and justice and communications and IT, Mr. Prasad has been the voice of his party and the voice of this government on many crucial debates. Minister Prasad believes in the digital, and over the past 7 years, he has set out to change India's digital landscape. To speak about this and more, it is my great privilege to welcome Minister Prasad to deliver his 7th inaugural address at CyFy. Minister Prasad, the mic is yours.
Mr. Moulay Hafid Elalamy, Distinguished Minister of Industry, Trade and Green and Digital Economy, Government of Morocco. Mr. Timo Harakka, Distinguished Finland's Minister of Transport and Communications. Mr. John Whittington, Distinguished Minister of State for Media and Data, Government of UK. Mr. Sunjoy Joshi, Chairman ORF. Good friend Dr. Samir Saran, President ORF, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be here once again, delivering my 7th inaugural address of CyFy, the well-known India Conference on Technology, Security and Society. My very warm greetings to all my ministerial friends, delegates and other colleagues. The theme of this year's conference has been very aptly chosen as the pandemic and digital dystopia. We are living under very, very challenging times. The COVID pandemic has really unsettled the whole world. It has caused enormous damage to human life, to economy, to social cohesion and also movement. Yet there is no effective medicine. Let's pray it comes at the earliest. But the nature of challenge and the enormity of suffering this pandemic has caused is also a time for us to seriously reflect as to how much limited are our potentials. We have to learn to improve more, to innovate more, and also to garner our inner strength and resources more to respond effectively to a challenge like this. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, took heroic efforts in addressing this problem right from day one, be it lockdown, be it leading from the front, be it educating the people of India, partnering with the states. We were able to give a cohesive response. And in spite of the loss of life, which is always regrettable anywhere in the world, In the size of India's population of 1.3 billion plus, it offers a measure of some assurance that many of the initiatives which we have taken could prevent unnecessary loss of life more. And what is a matter of glimmer of hope is more than 85% of the recovery. Yet the fight goes on. But amidst all these challenges, the real beacon of light came when technology played its part. I am very happy to share with you, in the lockdown, when there was no movement on roads, there was no movement of rail, there was no movement in the sky, all the three departments, the communication, the mobile, the internet in the Ministry of Communication, the postal operations in the Ministry of Communications, and the IT, in application of IT, in containing this virus, was in full play and was able to really connect the people of the country through mobile phone, through internet, and a whole range of other digital connectivity which could afford some degree of relief, and also hearing the voice of their relatives and friends. India is a powerhouse of IT, you all know it. Our companies have acquired global resonance because of the extraordinary professional caliber of our IT professionals. India is home to many of the back-end offices, all the giants, the global IT ecosystem are present in India. Now, once the lockdown was there, how could they work? Then I liberalized the entire ecosystem of work from home. And I'm very happy to tell you that 85% of Indians in the digital ecosystem could work from home. And now we are contemplating to have a scenario that we can possibly permit to work from anywhere. These are some of the initiatives which helped the country continue to work and continue to help people in this overpowering distress which the pandemic brought about. But more specifically, we could really draw upon the large pool of our digital ecosystem which we have developed in the last few years under the Digital India program, that could really bring a lot of help to the ordinary Indians in this very challenging times. Obviously, COVID is contagious, and the first requirement was to have a digital tool whereby contact tracing could be concretized and people can be warned that you have come in contact with someone, please be on guard. And then we came with Arogya Setu app, which has been downloaded by 160 million Indians. It works in a very simple manner. If you have come in contact with someone who is affected or likely to be affected, it gives you a signal and you have to be on guard. And then your entire contact of friends and family with whom you have interacted also needs to be conveyed that they need to take proper protective measures. And the entire data is for a very, very limited period. But this very innovative instrument developed by our Ministry of Electronics along with some private sector today has become a big boom. You are aware that under the Digital India program we came with the idea of DBT, Direct Benefit Transfer. We open bank account of poor people, almost 370 million bank accounts of poor were opened who were out of the banking system. And we started sending all the welfare measures to their bank account directly, be it the central government's welfare measure or the state government's welfare measures. This we call the DBT, direct benefit transfer. In more than 400 welfare programs, we have sent money worth 12 lakh crore, that is 172 billion US dollars. And we have saved 1.70 lakh crore, that is 23 billion US dollars, which used to be pocketed by middlemen or fictitious claimants. This has been our positive experience for the last close to 5 years. We used that in a very, very decisive way in the COVID, when we transferred huge amount of government welfare programs to more than 420 million poor and needy people, financial assistance under different scheme under the pandemic. More than 200 million women have been receiving rupees 500 per month into their bank account every month. Though we have a huge network of banks, their branches, but India is a huge country. People stuck up during lockdown in villages also needed to be given cash through a digital system. There was no ATM. How to go about? Then my India Post system, you'll be happy to know, deliver and disburse close to 664 million US dollars approximately to poor people in various parts, in villages, with my postman going even on a boat, crossing a river in the remotest part of the country, through a mobile app to deliver them digital payments. For the sake of farmers, we are doing a very extraordinary program initiated by the Prime Minister, where we have given to 10 million farmers close to 93,000 crores, that is approximately 13 billion US dollars. Direct benefit transfer, almost 2,000 rupees every 3 months, so that they can purchase their seeds, etc. All this only showed as to how digital technologies have been leveraged to the maximum during these challenging times. Therefore, whatever name you call the pandemic or the digital dystopia, this dystopia, whether uncertainty or ambiguity, whatever you call it, some degree of sanity was surely brought about by the digital ecosystem during these challenging times, which the humanity has not seen in the last so many years. While COVID has caused enormous problem, suffering, COVID has also established one thing. Every challenge brings an opportunity. And the challenge COVID has once for all established the potential of the digital technologies as to what extent they can come to the aid of common people even during the most challenging time. Therefore, technology has to play all the more critical role in our lives. And as I have been saying earlier, the Digital India program, which our Prime Minister launched more than 5 years ago, has a very simple meaning. Digital India means empowering ordinary Indians with the power of technology. Bring in digital inclusion by bridging the digital divide. And whether it's programs like direct benefit transfer, e-hospital, e-visa, e-education, e-scholarship, e-governance. All these today are changing in a very meaningful way the quality of life of ordinary Indians. And therefore all the public platforms, be it the direct benefit transfer or the extraordinary initiative of Aadhaar, the digital identity to supplement the physical identity, then Ayushman Bharat, namely helping the medical needs of millions of Indians through a digital platform, one country, one tax, the GSTN, one country, one ration card, India becoming a major player globally in the field of digital payment through the UPI. All these are public platforms which are being channelized and garnered to improve the quality of life of ordinary Indians. On the 15th of August, our Prime Minister announced that we shall be very soon launching a public digital health platform so that the health parameters of all the Indians are included through a proper health digital identity. Our Prime Minister is equally keen that along with physical infrastructure, the digital infrastructure must also carry great speed in terms of delivery and implementation. And therefore, in the pursuit of having a e-way, he has announced a massive program of having optical fiber reach in all the 600,000 villages of India in the coming 1,000 days. It is a massive program, and you can understand if quality internet reaches out to every village of India, what impact it is going to make on the entire process of empowerment. We are also very clear that India has to play a big role also in strengthening the process of global economy as well. The Atmanirbhar program the PM has launched. Atmanirbhar Bharat does not mean an India in isolation. It means an India playing an important role as a major economy to help the world economy grow. We are very keen that India become a trusted player in the global value and supply chain. And India has the right credentials also. By way of an example, I can tell, while there have been a recession globally, including in India, because of the unforeseen problem created by COVID, my Department of Technology and Communications registered a 7.1% growth even during these challenging times. Google has made investment of 10 billion, Facebook made investment of 5.7 billion, and Qualcomm has invested 97 million. Therefore, India continues to be a very favorable destination even of global investment during these challenging times. India today has the third biggest startup ecosystem in the world. We have become the second biggest mobile manufacturer in the world, very keen to become number 1, 2. And therefore, in addition to our digital delivery of services and IT services, in which Indian companies and professionals have left their global imprint, now we also want India to become a good and good and promising center of manufacturing, both software products and also in electronic manufacturing. And therefore, just to give an example, during the height of COVID, I announced a program of production link incentive in case of mobile manufacturing. You know that India has only 2 mobile factories when we had come to power in 2014. Now India is home to 250 plus mobile factories, and some of the best brands of the world have come to India. And based upon the experience of that success, we further expand that program and came with the initiative of production link incentive, whereby we wish to help incentive linked to your production, including your capacity for exports. And I announced this policy in April 2020, height of COVID. And the last date of application was 31st July 2020, height of COVID. And I'm very happy to tell you, all the top brands of the world, our idea was 5 global champions and 5 Indian champions, Indian companies. All the top brands of the world have applied, be it Apple through their contract manufacturers, Foxconn, Wistron, Pegatron, Samsung and others, component manufacturers, and also Indian companies. And cumulatively, they have committed to manufacture products worth $150 billion in the coming 5 years. $150 billion, giving job to nearly 900,000, including a lot of ancillary units promotion. And they will be largely for exports. India has great potential for further becoming a part of the global supply chain because of our credentials, because of our professionals, and the way we are a country governed by rule of law, by democracy, by accountable government, and open society. And in view of the challenges of the times which we are witnessing, I would very earnestly recommend that instead of having your production only in one country, it is better to explore others too. And India fits in a bill. We are very, very particular about safety and security as well. You know it very clear. When we heard reports that there have been some technology platforms which have the dangerous potential to steal data of Indians or also create serious threat to security, safety and defense of India. We did not hesitate in taking action at all, and we will not hesitate. Our view is very clear. This digital space is a space for a robust, constructive, open engagement. And that we welcome. Today, we encourage Indian app manufacturers to come with ideas, and they have come with robust ideas. We are encouraging programs for innovative initiatives for young Indians in far-flung areas, in the small towns of India, giving them incentive. Good products, innovative products, app which have come in the incentive program, we are going to incentivize them. It is a very clear route of foreign direct investment as well. Come, follow the norms and invest yourself, as I indicated. But if anyone tries to take liberties with our security or safety or defense, then we will take action, as we have taken. Let the rules of the game be very clear. Digital ecosystem keeps on expanding. The innovative mind keeps on coming with new and new platforms. Obviously, artificial intelligence is very important. And our Prime Minister is very keen that we must leverage the potential of this powerful technological innovation, which we call artificial intelligence. But our view is also very clear that artificial intelligence must bring in a smile on the face of ordinary Indians. It must help in the field of healthcare, in the field of education, in the field of agriculture. AI needs a lot of data. And India's huge population, the digital profile of 1.21 billion mobile phone, 1.26 billion Aadhaar card, nearly 700 million internet penetration, and a very tech-savvy mind of ordinary Indians leads to production of massive data. Data is the oxygen for AI. But this data has to be free from all the scourges of threat of privacy. There must be an element of consent for ordinary Indians when the data is taken. And therefore we have come with data protection law, whereby we have made provisions for consent to be taken as a mandatory precondition on a voluntary basis before you agree to use their data. But we are also cognizant of the fact that some movement of data is important for digital economy. We want India to be a big center of data refinement, data cleaning, data processing, which we all collectively call data refining. But it has to be through prescribed norms. And most important, India shall not countenance any compromise on the security and safety of the data of Indians and our data sovereignty. But the huge potential which data economy offers, I am told in the coming 5 years itself, the data economy, that means AI and data alone, can add up to 400 to 500 billion to India's GDP by 2025. That is exciting potential. And I request the world to join in this process. Because what India offers is a fine combination of a democracy, of a government elected by the people, of an inherent constitutional accountable process, and a large pool of professionals, and most important, demographic dividend, which is keen to lap up and tap every opportunity. This is how I think India can play a very stellar role in the emerging contours of AI. We have already set up several centers of excellence. We have a robust policy. We have developed a national portal for artificial intelligence. And also, we have become a founder member of the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. We are going to undertake a huge program of future skillings as well to enable 400,000 employees of our IT workforce, to enable them to prepare for new jobs. But the cyberspace is also to be safe and secure. And therefore, the safety and security of the cyberspace has to be maintained, for which a global partnership is needed. If internet is a great human innovation, it must remain safe and secure from rogue elements, from extremism, from terrorism, who almost abuse this technology to subserve their own program of hatred and also destabilization. I think these are some of the larger narratives which we need to properly need to safeguard against. AI, in order to become successful, must properly address the concerns of ethics. AI can never substitute human mind, can never take the place of values of human existence, the values of ethics, the values of consciousness, the values of emotions. They must continue to govern our life, and AI instrument must become supplemental to that. AI should not lead to weaponization, as our Prime Minister has rightly called time and again. But friends, in spite of these challenging times, the future will remain brighter only if the inclusion remains the important component of technological discourse. If Digital India was for digital inclusion, AI should also bring in inclusion and empowerment of ordinary people. There must be ethical and transparency driven algorithm, and there should not be any attempt of monopoly or hegemony. These are some of the general ideas which I thought I must share with you. It is always a pleasure to come to CyFy conference. Sunjoy and Samir are good friends, and the Observer Foundation is doing a good job, has developed itself as a very crucial and critical think tank of the country. My greetings once again. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those words and for that very important address. Let me invite my colleague, Trisha, who's the co-chair of this conference and its driving force, to propose a vote of thanks and to share with us the design of the conference over the next 5 days. Trisha, over to you.
Thank you, Samir. And ORF once again welcomes you all to CyFy 2020. Over the next 5 days, we will be hosting 18 panels, nearly 90 speakers, 9 ministerial keynotes, and 5 roundtables, all centered on the conference tagline, Technology, Security, and Society, as well as this year's theme, the pandemic and digital dystopia. It is also our pleasure to welcome S. Ishwaran, Minister for Communications and Information and Cybersecurity for Singapore, Tomas Petricek, the Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic, Thomas Heilmann, the MP from Germany, Ajit Pai, FCC Chairman, and Murray Spin, the Honourable Foreign Minister of Australia, to CyFy. Each of the 5 days of the conference will delve into one of the pillars of this year. On day 1, we explore how the winds of decoupling, deglobalization, and competing sovereigns will warp technology flows and will break apart and create new coalitions around them. On day 2, we explore how the pandemic has demonstrated the best of human ingenuity, as well as the darkest aspects of the binary between the security of the collective and individual rights. On day 3, we ask, are we all in the gig economy now? And should our notions of work, well-being, and value change? On day 4, we ask, are network democracies doomed to fail? And with our eyes on the US elections in November, we question whether we will be repeating the mistakes of our past. And finally, on day 5, we explore how the way we consume, create, transact, and participate in public discourse has changed, and in turn has changed us and our societies. And finally, streaming live from the East Coast every day at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, my colleague Nikhila will be curating a series of conversations centered on how technology has undergirded the US elections. Through all these 5 days, we will be keeping us, ordinary individuals, at the center of the conversations. How our identities and livelihoods are now indelibly linked to our devices, and how many of us don't even have the luxury of digital lives. Now, several of us navigate technology and the online world differently and have to surpass invisible yet tangible barriers put up by systemic injustices. Yet on the flip side of digital dystopia is hope for a digital utopia, and it is that hope that keeps us fighting, questioning, and becoming agents of change. Thank you and welcome once again to CyFy 2020.